All right, everybody, welcome to this week's Corn Belt Umpires Association. We got Connor Singheisen, we got Dan Russ with us as well. And we're going to talk about base umpire stuff today. Last week we talked about plate umpire, kind of the top 10 list. And I think, and Dan can probably agree with me on this. I think last week was probably one of the most interesting and exciting clinics that we've done so far. If you weren't able to watch it, I sent the link out in the video or in the email with today's call details, but definitely worthwhile. We talk about a lot of great stuff today. And just to stick an observation in just kind of after the first real week of the high school season in South Dakota, my first plate of the year was way too long. And to make matter, and I knew it was going to be a long day when I asked the coach the plate meeting if all the players were legally and properly equipped. And this catcher standing in the huddle wearing a two-piece helmet. So they're already trying to pull the, oh, we didn't know. Make sure we're enforcing the equipment rules and stuff like that. So without further ado, we'll kind of just start off with the top 10 list for base umpires. The first thing, and I guess I don't think this is on here per se, but making sure that we're, I was always kind of taught 10 to 15 feet behind the bag. To start with, that's kind of my general rule of thumb. I always got to be careful where the fielders or the first baseman's at, just in case we got a pop fly down the line or something like that. But so just making sure we're starting off in the right position. The first thing, I guess, that we could say is making sure that we do an adequate job with our turns and pivots into the infield. Far too often I've seen less experienced umpires who will just run a straight line into second base. And for those that were at the Sioux Falls Clinic, I know there was a question asked of who watches every base get touched. I do. And I don't have eyes on the back of my head, so you got to pivot and turn to make sure you can see the touch of the batter runner at first base. It says on here, cheating the pivot not preferred and used as a last resort or when necessary. I know Connor and we had a great conversation last night, kind of to discuss some of the topics that we're going to do over the next couple weeks. And Connor is working on putting a presentation together on umpiring smarter. And so he'll talk about some of that type of stuff. Dan, Russ, Connor, any comments on pivots?
I do. I like the pivot, particularly if you're reading the ball and you think he might try to advance on a base hit, but if it's typically a single, the pivot, and then sort of some steps towards second and then rotate back underneath first, I think it looks really, really professional. It's really rock solid, and it acknowledges all of your obligations physically as opposed to just with your eyes. But if you got a P rod hit hard and you think he's taking a big turn at first, sometimes the best you can do is that peak. But the to be seen, to be getting that touch is vital. Derek Roberts is the best I know. We have a lot of really good umpires in Northwest and in the region, and Jacob's one of them. You can just see the shoulder as you're timing it. You make sure that you're looking at him as he touches the base. And then in your head, you say to yourself, left foot, right foot, got the back corner. What did he touch? Because you may have to defend on an appeal exactly how that touch took place. The more you can confirm, the better.
Can I step in here and say something about that? This is Larry.
Go for it.
A key thing is where you start. For those that are elderly and don't have the wheels they once did, if you start too deep, you'll not be able to beat your batter runner to second base or get in front of him before he actually hits the bag. So use that as part of your adjustment if and when you believe you need to pivot. And I think on that base hit that he's going to round hard and have to come back or go to second, you have to pivot. In 2-man, remember in 3-man, you're probably 1/3 of the time you're coming inside, 1/3 of the time you're going out, 1/3 of the time you're heading foul territory toward the plate. And I don't know if my percentages are correct. I'm just saying those are your 3 options. So be aware of that. In 3-man, you probably aren't going to pivot very often. But in 2-man, you're going to. You should.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And where that pivot takes place changes depending on age and mobility, and also where the ball is and how fast that runner is. So go where you take the angle you need to go to get you where you need to be for the next play. Sometimes that's a little bit sharper, a little bit tighter to the cutout. Sometimes it's a little bit deeper towards the working area, but get to where you need to go. And one of the things Jake and I talked about last night, and I've had a conversation with a couple umpires in the last 2 weeks as the season's been starting, is how do we make sure we are where we need to be as we either A, get older, as one of the guys phrased it, or B, become less mobile or less quick. And we have to learn how to cheat and work in advance of the play harder so that when we get into the play, we're where we need to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of going to be the topic that you're going to really elaborate on a lot more over the next sometime within the next couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to doing that topic. If we move on to point number 2 with going out, Jason, are you still here?
Yeah.
Cool. We had a track meet both Saturday and Sunday, did we not?
Very much so.
Frankly, I lost count of how many times we had to go out. Playing baseball in 50-mile-an-hour winds is not conducive to a game where a lot of pitchers are producing fly balls. So going out is very, very important. And I wish I had the video, and I'm sure we'll do a clinic on going out at some point in time. So I'll go back in and pull the video, but we had a home run on Sunday get hit. And I like to think I'm pretty good at reading baseballs off the bat. And I'm on the plate. And so I read fly ball down the line. Nothing special. Jason communicates that he's going out. So I move up and I watch the touch. And I just catch out of the corner of my eye right as I touch, and I see Jason doing this. And that ball went out. And so not only did he have fair foul, but he also recognized that because of the weather conditions, we have a potential where the fence here is threatened, and he went out, which is perfect. I absolutely love I love seeing he read it right away, and he's just, I'm going out, and he took off. I came up and covered, and completely made the right call. So we've talked about this before. There's 4 criteria, and really only one needs to be met to go out. But the 4 criteria are fair foul is threatened, fence is threatened, 2 fielders are converging on a fly ball, and then the 4th one is that a ball will be caught at or below the waist. We had another one where we had an absolute bomb get hit, but it didn't go out of the park. And I went out because off the bat, I'm like, well, that's gone. And it hit the top of the fence. And I had to come back in to take a potential play at the plate. Luckily, we didn't have – they stopped at third, but we would have had an overthrow or something like that, I was at the plate ready to go. We don't need to go out on a can of corn. That's just any routine ball, and the way to kind of umpire that is ball off the bat, take a peek and see what the fielders are doing. If the fielders run and sprinting over to go get the ball, that's probably a good indicator that we should be going out on something. If they're just kind of walking around or just lightly jogging and they're camping under it, we probably don't need to go out.
I step in here and say something about this.
Sure.
Knowing where the fielders start is imperative on your pause, read, and react. If you just pause, read, and react without knowing where they started, you've already lost that first decision-making ability. So make sure you have all the information ahead of time. What do players do? They look at their situation. They know who's up the bat. Is this a guy that hits the all fields? Is this a guy that pulls the ball? Stuff like that. The more we know, the smarter we be on when to go out and when not to.
Absolutely. And I would say that one thing that I do pre-pitch is, I take a quick glance and I look at where my outfielders are at pretty much after every pitch, just to make sure we don't have a change in the formation. I would also say, if we got runners on base, never leave the infield, especially in the 2-umpire system. That's just a recipe for disaster. Don't do it. Not only is it not allowed by the mechanics, you're just setting the crew up for failure. All right, B and C positions. As many of you know, the South Dakota Umpires Association recently adopted the CCA mechanics. There are 2 situations where we are in the B position. It's with a runner on first or runner on first and third only. Otherwise, we're in the C position. B or C centers on an imaginary line from home plate on the edge of the pitcher's mound. We have done a couple clinics on pre-pitch positioning for the base umpires. I like this last point here. If a player asks you for an adjustment, go wider, not tighter. I'm going to get away from the pitcher's mound as opposed to going, in behind the pitcher's mound.
On that touch, if we also take a step or 2 back or forward, we can adjust our position without really going left and right and give them a better view at it.
That's what I was going to say too. Nice job.
Absolutely. Connor, you want to take time?
Don't do it. No, granting time, it's something that they continually talk to us about. Don't do it unless it's a valid reason. The ability for a fielder to throw the ball to the pitcher is a necessity to play the game of baseball. Now,
I've defeated it by when the shortstop looks at me and goes, "Hey, Blue, can I have time?" I was like, "Are you taking a conference?"
Yeah, and at that level, at the NCAA level, it's and higher, it makes it easier. When we have unlimited conferences, why? A lot of people, why? And it kind of handcuffs them. They're like, so I can throw the ball back to the pitcher. You got the best arm on the field, man. You can do that easy.
I bring up this one. You want to take away the hidden ball trick?
You want to let the offense not do something stupid so you can get an easy out? Yeah. Obviously, if they want if you ask why, it gives you an idea of what you're doing. And it's not as harsh as just saying no. Because they may be saying, I need time because this baseball is covered in mud, especially this time of year. Or it's got a cut in it. Or whatever, I don't know. They need to tie their shoe, right? If it's a valid reason, give it to them. If not, just say, you can make that throw, man. If the guy hits a double like they're getting no hit and a kid double, and once time so he can take his batting gloves back. No, you have pockets.
Yeah, what's up?
And then when they
sorry to bother you.
You're good. When they want batting gloves, they have pockets for that. Number one. Number two, you really want to take away the momentum you just created by hitting a double off the guy that's no hitting you right now and give him time to regroup and throw a better pitch? No. As a baseball guy, no way. If they have legitimate equipment like elbow pads, shin pads, stuff like that, absolutely. That's warranted because they need to get rid of that so they can run. Some of us aren't fast without them, so we can't be fast with them.
I say we should make a rule that if you start at home plate with stuff, that's your stuff the rest of the way around. That's what
I was just going to say this. Yeah, Larry, I was just going to say the same thing. Wait a minute. You double half the distance wearing it. What am I missing here?
Agreed.
Yeah, I use the you got the best arm out on the field one a lot, and it kind of, yeah, I think it's a great not necessarily a strict phrase, but a great way to communicate that no, you don't need time. Number 5 is another one of those bad habits I think that a lot of less experienced umpires have. They're watching it says watch the ball, glance at the runners. I don't know how much I personally subscribe to this theory. I understand the rationale behind it, but the ball is not going to commit a foul. I'm going to know where the baseball is at on the field at all times, but I want to make sure that I'm watching the touch at first base and be able to umpire any potential obstruction that may occur at first base.
And on that, obviously baseball is the most important thing, but we also have to use our baseball sport acumen to know where the runner's at. And we need to glance at them when they're touching a base, when they're approaching a fielder, to make sure that they clear that fielder. They touch the base on the inside corner with their left foot like they're taught to, which they never do. But if we use our field awareness, we can look at the baseball, know what's happening with that. Okay, he should be rounding first, take a peek. Watch him round first, see where the first baseman's at. Completely clear, nowhere near him. We go back to the baseball. Approaches second. Okay, second baseman, shortstop. The ball's in the outfield. One of them is going to be a cutoff. The other one is going to be near second base. So it kind of eliminates our threats for obstruction there. But if we watch the baseball, have a sense, a wide vision, narrow focus, we'll know when that runner's approaching something where it matters and we need to see that runner.
Good stuff. Infield fly, 0.6 here. Base umpire is going to have the primary responsibility if, and I think this is I get how they're writing this. If the base umpire has to turn around to see the catch, no catch, they have the primary on it. Otherwise, it's the plate umpire, including all fair foul situations. At the end of the day, if somebody's got an infield fly, go get it. Because what we're doing is we're protecting the offense in this situation from the defense basically getting a cheap double play. That's really all I got on it. Connor, Dan, Russ, anything else?
I have this idea. Can, at the end of the play, if it doesn't get caught, is there a chance for a double play? So think about this one. Pop up to the shortstop behind the third baseman going toward the line. Where can they get the double play if that ball's dropped? Third and second. Same thing. Ball's hit over the first baseman's head. Second baseman's going to make a catch or drop it. That one is hard to get a third to second double play. So I will reluctantly call it on the third base side more than I would on the first base side. And that's one of my arguments when the coach says, why wasn't that infield fly? Because you could not get a double play. I've had that happen about 3 times and used that argument. They bought the argument.
I think with infield flies, it's better to be late and right than early and wrong. Take time, take time, process it. If it drops and it's a questionable one and it drops or it gets caught, the offensive, somebody's going to be mad. Somebody's going to be frustrated all the time if it's questionable, right? But the reason this rule is in place is to prevent a cheap double play. So you're letting the runners know what they can or what they need to do, essentially, by calling this an infield fly. And if you're going to err on the side. I want to err on the side of I'm doing what makes sense and calling that an infield fly. Right, wrong, and different. Everybody has a little bit different philosophy on it, but you're protecting the runners and making sure we get an out. And if you don't call an infield fly on a blooper, well, is it a blooper? Is it a line driver? Is it a fly ball? You got to make that determination. There's a definition for it, sharp and direct, but you got to make your decision.
A couple little things I stole from Jeff Hendricks on it, and he talks about if the infielder doesn't have his shoulders turned toward the infield, turned toward the plate as he's making a catch or making an effort to make a catch, you lean toward it not being infield fly. Then again, if he's slowed down and is as it easily coming over his shoulder, then it's still infield fly. But the lack of specificity in the actual rule does create, like Connor says, there's a lot of opportunity here for you to judge it. And you kind of got to get in your own rhythm on it. But Russ, what do you got on that? We've talked about this a lot. There might be some things I'm forgetting.
Yeah, no, I bring up the I also want to add, should really never be calling infield fly before the ball has reached its apex. In fact, I would argue even halfway down, make sure you're giving that fielder enough time to show you that ordinary effort.
Yep.
And I think that really goes to Connor's point too. Rather be a little bit late and right than early and wrong. So that's just my philosophy. I wait. I don't. It's nothing until I call it. So let's just wait and see what it really is.
That's great advice.
2 words. I heard 2 words here that don't belong on the baseball field: acumen and specificity. I can't even pronounce that word.
Well, that's going to limit us a lot, Larry, if it's your pronunciation. I'm just teasing, Doc.
The players wouldn't understand those words.
Some of them would.
I use them because they just get confused and walk away.
Shut them down.
That's actually not a bad idea. Use words that they don't understand, like anything other than an F word.
That's a good thought.
It's nice to talk about that F word at those Christian schools.
Yeah, that's right. I find they're a little less Christian when the game is tight.
All right, moving on to number 7 here with catch, no catch responsibilities with runners on base. Communicate. Plate umpire needs to communicate that they are on the line if they're taking catch, no catch with runners on base. If there is no indication, then the catch, no catch call is the base umpires. I guess kind of the way that I personally do it is I will communicate if I'm the plate umpire that I'm taking it. But also if I don't hear anything and I'm the base umpire and I hear my plate umpire say nothing, then I'll just tap my head as to indicate that I'm taking this one. And it's worked really well. And it's definitely something that we do talk about during the pregame. Making sure that a trap ball is signaled as no catch with the safe signal, not this. That means something else. And I'll tell you, if you have that weird trap situation, get as much distance from home plate as you can, get stopped, get set, make the call, and if you're wrong, live with it. Jason will tell you we had one at an NAIA game this past weekend, and I got 20 feet out in front of home plate as far as I could. Guy lays out for it. I thought he caught it. I thought there was firm and secure possession and free and voluntary release the ball. So I signaled out. They didn't like it, but that's what we went with because that's what I had. We didn't have 3 umpires out there. If we had a 3rd umpire, that'd be a really easy call to make because U3's going out in that situation. So get distance, get stopped, get set, make the call, and live with it. Anything else?
Jump in there, Jake.
Sure.
I have been cured of saying the word catch unless it's a catch. So I'll either just scream no, or I do like a safe signal, not pointing, a safe signal and yelling down because they understand what I'm saying. If I want to keep that thing live, saying the word catch can confuse, particularly if I go no catch and then, you start getting that issue. Coaches want as much clarity as quickly as they can get it. And Russ is always right. It's nothing until we call it. But once you've decided that ball's down, that ball's not caught, I think no or down are better verbal indications. But the key is, and I don't even signal it once. I signal a couple times. In case they're turning and looking at me to figure it out. Couple safes, yep, and then leave it out there, hang it out real hot, because that's going to be the play that's going to determine a run that matters. Something's going to happen there. It's pretty big.
Yeah, I put a safe sign out and I just hold it.
Yep.
And I hold it for a couple seconds. There will be no doubt that I have no catch. And yeah, I don't ever say no catch because what's the last word that they hear? Catch. Right. It's just like if you're at a hockey game, you don't ever hear someone say no ice. It's just no if they're waving an icing off.
Right. Because
that's the last thing that they hear.
2 things on this when it comes to communication. When we're talking to each other, especially with runners on base, we have to communicate with our partner. And we have to be very careful of what words we use so that we don't confuse the fielder into thinking you're going to catch the fly ball. So that's number 1. If it's Jake's responsibility for that ball, I might say, Jake, I've got R1. Jake, R1 is mine. That way I'm talking directly to him, letting him know I've got R1 tagged and he's got the fly ball. Right? Deductive reasoning. Another big word for Larry.
You just lost Larry.
The other thing is when we have trapped balls or balls that are trap, catch, no catch, be very slow. Let that fielder tell you what they're going to do or what they think it is. And that's a big part of it. Like, I had a game last year where I had a frozen rope hit right at my head. And by the time I turn around, the ball is in the glove of the second baseman. And I had no idea what happened. So I just turn around and watch him. He throws it to first base. I think it was R2. He throws it to first base. Okay. No catch. And ruled on it because he told me what he had. And a lot of times if we slow down on those tight plays and read players, they will tell us what we have. But if we rush to it, or if we watch the glove, the baseball is always going to end up in the glove. But if we watch the ball, we'll see the short hop, the skip in.
Remember NCAA rule on this, you don't have to live with that call if your partner can help you. You get the call right. If it's in the outfield, a trap in the outfield. They haven't changed that yet, have they, for infield traps?
Yeah, you can change infield stuff. You can catch or if there was no runners on and it's the batter only.
Okay, yeah, that's
so yeah, you've got very limited leeway on the infield, as opposed to kind of carte blanche in the outfield.
Pass the first baseman, correct? Pass the third baseman.
Yeah, well, no, it's in the outfield past any fielder on those. You're thinking fair, foul, reviewable.
Right. Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, I know, right?
So to move on to number 8, making distance towards place. I'm going to stop. I'm actually going to pause the share here. I'm going to pull up a video. Jason, I think you're still on here. I'm going to pull up the pickoff that we had this weekend at first base. So this is this was bottom of the first inning. I think this was the second batter of the first inning that we had. I gotta back up. I gotta do it this way. Share. All right, everybody can see my screen now. That movies and TV. Assuming.
No, you still have the rules pulled up.
That good now?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So we got a runner on first base only. I'll just play this through a couple times, and I'll let Russ and Dan and Connor critique as they see fit. So I got one or two steps in on this. The runner in this situation, he dove for the back corner of the bag, but then his hand went to the front inside corner. So his body went one way and his hand went the other way, which was really weird. And he was tagged on the just above the elbow is where he got tagged at.
So on most pickoff plays, we have time for about a drop step before we have to get set. Because we want to be set and see the play coming in with our eyes steady, level, looking in position. When we continue to move throughout the play, our head moves up and down, our field of vision gets distorted. So it should be a drop step. If we start tight to the mound like Jake was here, it's a drop step to open to the base and set. And we're in position with a good angle on the play 99% of the time. Now, what the runner does, what the fielder does can always take us out of that, but we don't have time to adjust based on what they do on these pickoff plays. So drop step, set, read the play, make the call. I think on this, Jake, you're still moving throughout the process of the play. And that, no idea if you get the call right or wrong. But if we drop step, we're set, we have a much better chance of getting that call correct. That's all I've got on that play.
I've got this. You're mentioning the word drop step. I see it just an opening up step.
Yeah.
Not drop step. If he drop steps, he's going to get ass and elbows. He's going to
maybe different terminology, Larry, but yeah, open up to the play.
I'm saying step forward toward the 45 or the cutout, the baseline cutout, so that you're getting you're getting closer to the mound, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so step forward at an angle
yes.
to the runner's lane.
Larry, yeah. I got a friendly amendment. I learned a phrase from Russ when we were at camp a long time ago. It's called a gate step, and opening the gate. And Larry's right. You're not, Connor's initial point is right. Jake, it's admirable that you tried to get ground. You're not going to get closer in an appreciable way. And what you'll do is you'll get straighter. you'll get to like the asses and doubles. I can't believe Larry said asses. It's not my fault, and it's recorded. Not me. But so this time it's not on me. But what Russ and Jake have an advantage on Connor and I, the width of your legs and the length of your legs, if you just simply open up and take that step toward the 45, you'll improve your angle. And Connor's dead right. You'll be 1/2 step or, maybe a full step, and you're down. And even literally getting lower, because everything about that play is below the eye line. It takes you down. It takes some of the distractions out. So a gate step and then driving down. And then you'll end up with the punch to the midget and not to somebody who's about 5'9". I mean, you got a tall guy on that out call. That's too much. I'm just kidding. But I do think a step toward the 45, getting set, and you can take another step if you want to confirm voluntary release. You can point and say, show me the ball if there's an issue because he went the other way. You can gain ground after the call, after the judgment's been decided. But I think if you just open the gate, make a step toward the 45, get that clean look and go, okay, I've got a good tag. I've got that tag before he gets to the base. Now I've got voluntary release. Now I got an out. The timing on the indication I thought was good. And I think you're right. It probably is. But Connor's dead right. You're still floating as that tag's being put on. There's still a little bit of movement. Closer to dead set would be better, I think. It's the toughest call in baseball. I hate the pickoff from B. I can't stand it. It's almost got to be where the tag takes him into the right field corner before I'm 100% confident. It's just really hard to see the front corner of the base, particularly if he goes toward the front of the base. You just got no chance. If he goes toward the back, it takes him longer. And he was fooled. There's no question. He had a full step towards second going as the turnaround. So the indications are I might have an out here, and you got it. Just be set.
That's a gate step is a better terminology. That's essentially what I was referring to. Open up and get that look.
Yep. Ross, did I miss anything?
No, I like Larry's term better, the asses and elbows. You would, some people I know would try to add a bunch of syllables that are unnecessary.
If you really want it to be clean it up, you can say A and E.
Yeah, but then people go turn on the TV. People go turn on the television and look for some channel. I don't know.
That's how it's an entertainment. Yeah, that's right.
Ass and elbows is a term that's used on the baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
We know, Larry.
In the context, this still meets PG requirements.
We're riding into town on a religious feast day. You can say ass.
On steal plays, step towards the base where the steal is being attempted. Gain ground. I use a drop step if I'm coming out of the B position on a R1 to second base steal attempt. Make sure you turn with the baseball. No funnier moment than getting smoked by a baseball because you take your head off the ball. I'm fortunate that I've never had to experience that myself. So multiple runners on base. After you make a call, make progress towards the next possible play. You see this all the time in two specific ways. First, you see it on a hit and run in the infield with a runner on first only, where they attempt to go from first to third. Now, I realize that some mechanic books say that's the plate umpire's responsibility. I know some books say that's base umpire's responsibility, and I know that at least at one of the college conferences I work in, we had just had a discussion at our preseason meeting, and we decided that this is how we're going to handle this play. And so with the base umpire handling that play, make the call at first, and then just chest to baseball and read whatever play develops from there, if that's how you're doing it. I like the base umpire making that second call as well. I'd rather have the plate umpire there to help at first base with anything. The other common play that we would have is a double play. And the thing that I would say about the double play, and I had one this past weekend where it was a really quick turn at second base. And so I was there, I watched, I had touched the bag, I had firm and secure possession, and a free voluntary release the ball. I just quick put a hammer up, transitioned to first base, and I don't remember if it was safe or out. I think it was safe. But then what I did is I transitioned back to second base after the play at first base was done. I had firm and secure possession, free and voluntary release of the ball. I had made my signal. Then I went back to second base. I pointed at the base and signaled out again, just so there was no confusion. Anything on distance? Anyone else got anything on distance?
If you can't get distance, get the angle.
Thanks. Angle over distance. Absolutely.
Sacrifice distance to get an angle.
For sure.
The old umpire school axiom.
I like it. When we're in between innings, base umpire should be in short right field. Basically, that's pretty straightforward. Jog or run out to the outfield. Don't just walk. It just doesn't look good. Hustle's a good thing. The last thing, timing.
Hang on, Jake.
Good.
They should be in position in short right field and alert to the happenings on the field. I know we covered this once or twice, but know what's going on between innings. Know how many pitches we've thrown as a pitcher. Know if the coach is coming out to argue a play with the plate umpire. Know what's going on and pay attention and be a good partner and be engaged during that time out there.
Absolutely.
Even if you're you go get a drink of water, get your water, turn and watch the field so you can be of assistance if needed.
Good stuff. Number 10, timing. Timing is not when you make the call, like when you signal it. It's when you decide what the call is, let the play start, develop, and finish. Great example of timing that I can think of would be just routine plays at first base. Watch the ball into the glove, watch the ball leave the glove, watch the ball be thrown by the first baseman, then make your signal. And now you have firm and secure possession with free and voluntary release the ball. That's what I got on timing. Anybody else got anything?
On those plays, you're watching the catch, or you're watching the touch, the base, hearing the ball. Once you know the ball pulls out, then you make your decision, and then you follow it out, and then you make your signal. We can't be making our decision as our head's turning away. We have to make it before we turn the ball to the baseball being thrown around the horn. But slow. Let everything finish. Let everything come to a stop, and then make your decision, make the call. You can never be too slow.
Dave leave. He did. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Trying to see if Jason's still on, because I was going to do that batter interference play since we have a couple minutes.
We can save that.
Yeah, might have to save that. So next week, we're working on putting topics together. Probably do some videos. We had a lot of really good, we had a lot of weird, fun stuff happen this past weekend. 2 timing plays in one game. Lots to learn from those. We had a pretty interesting batter interference call that we grabbed a video of, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come in the next week that we can talk about and discuss. Russ, Dan, any final thoughts?
Good work.
Go out and have fun. I mean, remember, we're doing this, and it can be a good time. You can really have a lot of fun out there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try to get you some videos from Fargo this weekend, and maybe they might even involve baseball. What happens in Fargo stays in North Dakota. All right, boys, I'll see you.
Yeah.
See ya.
Gotta go. Bye-bye.